Hey everybody, welcome aboard the psychedelic train. Today I got 5 LPs for you. These are all online items. And good thing I chose to make the video today because I probably don't plan on going out anywhere today because we have this whole winter storm moving through and kind of starting to feel it. This morning got some ice pellets moving through, and I left work early today, so it was a good day. I got a chance to leave early, so with that said, I'm just kind of chilling here today and kind of going over at least one of these finds yet from last night that I'm super pumped about. So stick around till the end because the best stuff is near the end. So I'm going to kind of start off on a light note here with this one. This is one I picked up. I've been meaning to pick this up for like 2 years because it's always been cheap, but I just never got around to it. I was kind of waiting on a copy because the guy said it was out of stock or he had lost it because he had moved to a different location. So I just kind of waited on that. He said he would send it to me for free, but several months passed. I just kind of gave up on that. So I just figured for 10 bucks, let's just pop on it finally. So it's the Serendipity Singers with Love is a State of Mind. It came out in '67. This is like their last LP. It's kind of like a novelty, sort of like folk pop group going back to like the early 60s. And obviously here they're kind of just cashing in on the whole, flower power sound. They don't look exactly, they kind of look like the Square type, But this has got some cool moments on here. So the way I trekked across this one was through a playlist on YouTube. It was called like Cloudy Pop Psych Mix or something. And there's a track on here that just like blew my mind. I was like, I gotta find this track. So it's the track Rain Doll. It's the 3rd track on here. I thought about doing it for the intro, but I wanted to do it for one of the better ones here. But check that track out. Especially the stereo mix, I think is superior. It's got nice separation going on, and you can just feel the atmosphere in the room listening to that track. It's very fitting with that playlist. It's got a very cloudy, kind of hazy pop psych vibe to it with some vocal delay work, backing harmonies. And this one, if you had to clarify it as something, I would say this is definitely more sunshine pop overall. Very short album. I think it only clocks in at like 25 minutes. What else can I say? So, very short tracks. They do a few cover variations. They do a Jake Holmes track, It's Always Somewhere Else, as well as Cashman, West, and Pastilli, or those songwriters anyway. I don't think that's the order of their name as the artist, but I think they do, Neil Diamond track. It's pretty strong overall. Arguably, I would consider this like a essential piece for any Sunshine Pop collection. It's also got a couple other highlights too. The title track's got this kind of sitar, Middle Eastern flavor to it. Some good rhythm section going on. And I can't remember what the other track was. Maybe it was the Jake Holmes track. Again, some nice vocal harmonies as well. You can definitely tell these guys were like probably, at least 30 years old, perhaps. They definitely sound not like the youth of the time in their vocal delivery, but yeah, very cool. Pick this up for 10 bucks. If you see it, it's on United Artists. And this came with the original inner sleeve. I've always kind of liked that inner sleeve design on that label. It's like a pink and orange, purple and orange. So yeah, definitely investigate Rain Doll. Maybe I'll leave a little clip here in the middle so you guys can hear it.
Just a toy, a living rain doll, grew old yesterday. Now it's time to throw away rain doll. Worn and tattered by loving hands, ladybug on twisted limbs.
Okay, and then moving on, man, I could say a lot about this one, but I'll try to make it brief. So, my history with Frank Zappa. You know, I definitely discovered him early on with Mothers of Invention. Obviously, kind of going back, I usually go back to the origins of a band or an artist. So I fell in love with Freak Out immediately. Then, of course, I picked up the other ones along the way. I still don't have Absolutely Free, which I wouldn't mind owning it, but I've definitely seen it around different shops and stuff, you know. But this is one of Zappa's later pieces that, for some reason, ranks kind of high on my listening pleasures, which is kind of strange because, you know, I'm not like super huge into Zappa. I guess I could say, you know, I like the personality of Zappa, or just like the mindset of just how kind of a maniacal genius he is of sorts. But I don't know, just the way he kind of congregates all these different ideas and just how absurd they are at times. It's a lot to process. This is one of those old favorites of mine I first discovered the movie because it was actually on like Netflix 10 plus years ago when I discovered it. Oddly enough, I gave it a watch and I was like, I need to watch that again. That was kind of amazing. But I picked up 200 Motels by Frank Zappa, and this has got a lot going for it. I think they recorded this and filmed this in maybe London, at least the UK. He was able to team up with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. And you got a bunch of cameos on here. You got like George Duke, Ringo Starr playing as Larry the Dwarf as Frank Zappa. So, and then you got, of course, this is the phase where Fluorescent Leech and Eddie, also known as Flo and Eddie era, comes in, which a lot of people kind of, you know, shrug that era aside, but I don't know. I enjoy it. You know, some of the humor, it's just kind of hit or miss oftentimes with this project, you know. So 200 Motels, basically a film kind of just parroting themselves as though, you know, what life is like on the road. And so they end up visiting the place called Centerville. Great place for your kids to grow up in, or whatever their tagline is, the city motto. But I don't know. There's lots to indulge in this one. Like I said, they kind of make fun of themselves, but also I think Frank Zappa himself kind of snuck a few little details in that maybe the band weren't expecting. Like, you know, Jeff Simmons at the time, who was working with them, was supposed to be on this project, but he kind of bailed out last minute or something, so they kind of poke fun at him and bring Ringo Starr's chauffeur in the mix. I forget his name at the moment, but he plays a large role, in fact, in this one as Jeff Simmons. So it's pretty absurd on its own, you know, it's on its own grounds. But the songs within, you know, I don't really care too much for the classical arrangements. I think there's a little bit too much of that for 2 discs. But it would have been nice to have, you know, more song compositions on here. But Mystery Roach, obviously kind of a cool, you know, notable opener on here, as well as Daddy, 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 Lonesome Cowboy Burt, which sadly I know all the lyrics to that song. I just find it so funny, humorous over time. And probably my favorite track is, where is it? What Will This Evening Bring Me This Morning? Although very short track and very repetitive, there's something about it I just really like. So yeah, and this is one of those copies that comes with the insert, thankfully. So this is kind of maybe hard to come by. Got a little booklet. Try to show all the photographs here. I don't know all the guest names, but there's definitely a lot of people involved, I hope. Yeah, I kind of forgot to blur that part out. I won't show that on here. It's one of the GTOs showing her parts. I love the animation section on here as well. Do a great job on that. It's very schizophrenic, scatterbrain kind of stuff, but yeah, pretty awesome. Not really one of the more lauded projects by Zappa, but I certainly enjoy it. Enjoy the film especially. Got like stop motion effects going on and stuff, and it's very zany. I think it's one of like the first feature films to be shot on like actual video as well, notably. So, but apparently Roger Ebert liked it, so it's got to be a great film, right? Okay, I got 3 more here. This one, so these next 2 are from the same seller I told you guys about last update. Took a while to ship these out. Thankfully they got here. I was a little worried because I ordered these at like before Christmas. Hadn't heard a word back, but thankfully they pulled through and they came about 3 days ago, I think. And man, these are some good pickups. These are ones I've been kind of seeking out for a long time, especially the next one, but we'll get to that. This is In Regalis. Not sure how you pronounce that. This is a reissue on Wawa, self-titled. This came out in like 2000. This came with the poster. I don't have the poster with me at the moment, but for being 23 years old, this reissue, unfortunately, those posters over time, can't really get those creases out since they're all folded in here and compact, for that long. But I got the poster. This came out in 71, so you could probably classify this one as like progressive psych, progadelic, but it's definitely touching on stuff like jazz rock. And if you love krautrock and you kind of love those spatial, jazz rock oriented kind of journeys, I think you'll still dig this one heavily for sure. This one does contain a bonus track on here, which was a non-album B-side, Magic Colors. And just like the Open Mind, that band, their strongest track was Magic Potion, but it was left off the LP. This is kind of a similar case here. Magic Colors is kind of like, arguably the band's best track to some people. It definitely stands out on its own, apart from the rest of this. But yeah, very tasteful, great production here. The drumming on this is very tight. Love the way the snare and everything's tuned up. And just the way things are mic'd as well, that bass drum, it just pounds on this one. It gets a lot of comparisons to like Jethro Tull and the likes of those bands, but according to them, because this comes with liner notes as well, they claim that they didn't really have any influence from them because their records didn't really quite reach Spain at the time. It's both in their native language and in English on here. But you can definitely tell there's some remnants of that. Although I would argue, this band goes a lot deeper than them. Jethro Tull's pretty good though. Great sound quality, great reissue label. And I think there's also a 2018 reissue. I forget the label's name, but they've been pressing out a lot of stuff from like, I think South America, Spain, because this band's from Spain, and the likes of those groups, Mexican bands. I forget the label's name, but I was going to pick that one up initially, but a lot of copies in the US just aren't popping up, but thankfully this was in the US for a downgraded price, so had to pick her up. It's a great addition to the collection. Check that one out. So like I said, this is from the same seller, and again, the same case. I was kind of looking at a different reissue label to pick this up on, but this one showed up in my searches on eBay for a great price, and this is actually a World and Sound reissue of Danny Ben, Israel, with his album Bullshit 3 1/4 or 3 1/4. This came out in 1970. And yeah, World and Sound, same reissue label as Cold Sun, Dark Shadows, which I also have. I love their reissues. They got this kind of stitched cover design. Isn't glossy or anything. It's just really nice packing. So Danny Ben Israel kind of had some contemporary hits. I think he was writing hits at the time around Israel. He had one LP prior to this, which I think had some success. It's kind of hard to say since, I didn't really grow up in the Middle East and I don't know the full history there, but This is definitely one of those cases where he was kind of enlightened by like the drug culture, the hippie culture, and I think honestly he was kind of like he was anti-hippie. I feel like, just considering like all the stuff you hear within this record. Although I don't speak Hebrew and I can't depict everything he's saying, I think you can still pick up on like the energy and just like what he's about through the sounds of this. You know, he's definitely got this kind of he's got these sound collages of like warfare going on and these like politicians speaking out. Some are in English as well, you can hear. But just the way he's like throwing a lot of these words out and, you know, just his whole energy level really presses on this one. And he's also got a archived or just like leftover sessions from this era that he would release as the Kathmandu sessions, which came out in like '04, I think. But yeah, this is definitely a wild trip, man. I mean, if you guys love stuff like that in the Middle East, you know, Churchill's, even though that it's a completely different sounding record compared to Churchill's, but definitely I would say probably just as important, you know, to the counterculture scene in this area. So if I had to recommend some tracks, I think one of the standouts, After All the Fun, it's translated into English, After All the Fun, it's kind of like this 9-minute just jam. And that's the song I was jamming to on my last video, if you guys caught that. Some great fuzz, great rhythmic jamming going on, as well as the next track, Dawn with Hash. So it's talking about hashish, you know, drug smuggling perhaps. There's a lot of like bottleneck and weird sound effects going on throughout as well on side 2. Gets a little folky in spots, some repetitive, you know, sort of like Moog synthesizer kind of work going on. So super experimental, but yet at the same time very hallucinogenic for sure. So yeah, this has been kind of a long time want. I mean, I've been wanting this for like over 5 years now since I last discovered it. And I kind of forgot what this sounded like after revisiting it, and man, this is just phenomenal. It's kind of a hidden gem of sorts for that time period. Yeah, this last one, this is one that arrived in the mail last night, and I've only spun this once, but man, this is a phenomenal release. This came out this year, 2023, and I've known about this record. Well, it was actually just more of like a collection of demos that people have kind of tried to duplicate onto CDRs, and like I've uploaded it on my other channel, Cosmic Minds. I tried uploading the full clip of like the correct speed, because oftentimes all these other clips online were just like all sped up and the pitch was off of these demos in the past, and I tried correcting the speed and I was still way off. It was just very sped up. But these are demos by the Glass Harp. This is called Where Did My World Come From? This was recorded at United Audio in Ohio, at like Peppermint Studio it was called. And this is on the Peppermint Records label. And you can still pick these up on their Bandcamp if you seek it out. And I highly recommend this. So if you guys like Glass Harp, it's definitely a different sound, obviously. I mean, these are the origins. You can definitely tell, I mean, Phil Keaggy, however you pronounce his last name, the guitarist, phenomenal player. I mean, he was barely 18 years old, or he was about to turn 18 prior to these sessions, and man, the kid smokes on the guitar. I mean, he's got some shredding licks for 69, kind of similar to like what's his name, Mariani Band, Johnson kid. Pretty similar to him in a lot of ways, but not nearly as heavy, but just this kind of beastie guitar sound. In a lot of ways, this kind of reminds me of like Savage Resurrection. It's kind of in that vein, you know, but it's definitely got some trippier aspects to it. A few hints of garage here and there, as obviously, but it's also got some nods to like the Beatles. They do a couple Beatles tracks, Eleanor Rigby, What You're Doing, and even the vocal style is very English in a lot of ways as well. And it's a trio, and I think the bass player went off to go and join Human Beings, which apparently his cousin was in that band at the time before they departed as well. But man, this is a phenomenal release. They cleaned this up so well compared to what you would hear online. They went back to the original master, or the tape reel. They must have miscategorized it at the time, but they found them, and thankfully isn't lost in history. I mean, this is finally publicly released, man. Very happy to... I pre-ordered this like you wouldn't believe, man. Oftentimes I'm not too big on pre-ordering stuff, you know. Oftentimes I catch it later on or miss it or something, or it doesn't really pique my interest, but this was one such case. I just could not say no, as I have already been kind of a huge fan of not only this band, but these early sessions as well. So it kind of comes with a cool insert as well. It's got all the newspaper clippings and like different reviews from the past. I think this is probably around the same time. Got a little Stooges insert there as well. They must have played some gigs with them around that time. Doesn't say exactly where, I guess. The Glass Harp, East Orange. And the Stooges headlining. So yeah, very, very cool pickup, and probably, I mean, I'll just say it right now, probably going to be the best archival or any sort of reissue release this year, I bet you. It's going to be up there for sure. Nice quality jacket as well, and it's got their story on the back. I'll let you guys read that if you can see it. Hopefully it comes in okay. And it comes with a little hype sticker here. So yeah, this is definitely the trippiest version of the band. Although they kind of define their sound with the Decca records. I have their debut album, which I do like. You know, even though that one's kind of more, you know, slower paced, kind of progressive hard rock, a little subdued with some strings. This has got their kind of what they would become for sure. Check out the track High Flight, which is on YouTube as well. There's a copy of the demo take on there, but there's also like a, if you look under Glass Harp topic or whatever those things are called on YouTube, you'll see it's featured on a compilation called Rat Race, which apparently went through this label as well, Peppermint Records. I'm only just figuring this out, you know, less than 24 hours, so. Anyways, guess that about wraps it up. I definitely have a semi-grill coming in the mail already. I ordered this last year, but I'm just only kind of just now speaking about it. Clean copy, and it's one you don't see in the States too often, so look forward to it. Anyways, guys, enough of me bragging. Have a good day, and check these out, and pick up Glass Harp on their Bandcamp. So till then, we'll see you soon.